Are you thinking about buying a new car and curious about a Tesla? Well, you're definitely not alone. The particular reason you may be here watching a video, though, is that Tesla isn't like other car companies. They skip the dealership model, bundle features in unusual ways, and have their own quirks when it comes to pricing, upgrades, insurance, and timing your purchase. So if you're trying to make sense of it all in 2025, you're definitely in the right place. Today, I'm going to break it down and help you make a smart decision based on my Tesla purchases over the years. I'll detail everything I wish I knew before buying a Tesla, so let's get into it. Let's start with a key piece of the puzzle, how buying a Tesla actually works. Tesla skips the traditional dealership model and sells directly to consumers, but how does that work? Well, it means that you place your order online, and then everything is handled digitally. Whether from home or with help at a Tesla store, you order online and then wait for your car to be built and delivered. Nowadays, however, they have readily available inventory, so there are some considerations with that. So what's the real difference between a custom order and grabbing a vehicle from inventory? Well, it's changed a little bit today, but a custom-ordered Tesla is made to your exact preferences. If you're configuring, say, a Model 3 in the US, you can choose your drivetrain, rear-wheel drive, long-range all-wheel drive, or performance, exterior color, wheels, interior color, a tow hitch, FSD, and even charging accessories. Once you lock in your build, Tesla gives you an estimated delivery window and adds your car to their production schedule. At the moment, all Model 3 trims are readily available in most areas, but timing can shift based on demand throughout the year. Sometimes supply shortages will mean a particular trim like white interior has a longer wait, etc. Lately though, availability has been pretty high across all models, even the Cybertruck. Ordering custom means you're getting exactly what you want, but it might come with a short wait, though right now, again, wait times can be just a few days. Tesla may also reach out if there's an in-stock vehicle that's close to your specs, giving you the option to take delivery sooner with minimal compromise. Inventory vehicles, on the other hand, are already built and often available for immediate delivery nearby. The inventory page shows what's on the ground, where each vehicle is located, and whether it's a demo model with some mileage or if it comes with a discount. If you find your preferred configuration in stock, you can skip the line and might even score a better deal. Especially at the end of the quarter, Tesla usually has discounts on inventory vehicles. This option is especially appealing at the end of a quarter because of Tesla's push there, and they're motivated to clear out stock to hit revenue goals, and that urgency can translate into savings for buyers. Sometimes a small tweak to your spec can shave off thousands of dollars. It's also worth noting here that Tesla is currently offering 0% APR financing for qualified buyers on the Model 3 and 1.99% APR on the new Model Y, and cars of both types are readily available. This leads into one of the main things I wish I knew before buying a Tesla. Basically, there will always be a deal around the corner. It's really just a question of how long it takes to get around that corner. When Tesla comes out with a new vehicle, or a refreshed vehicle, they oftentimes start with the most expensive trim. They may even offer a special Foundation Series or Launch Series, like they just did with the Cybertruck and Model Y respectively. In each of these cases, these were an initial run of fully spec'd out versions of these cars coming at a premium. It's exciting for people who really want the latest cars from Tesla, but in practice, these cars quickly lose that extra value. No other car has been more of a stark example of this than the Cybertruck. That car initially launched at $100,000 or $120,000 for the Foundation Series, and of course that included every option this car has, like the $8,000 FSD package. However, by waiting about a year, these exact cars are available at discounts up to $12,000 off, and they now include free lifetime supercharging. Both of these deals were definitely not in place initially. So by waiting, customers are getting a far better deal on a car that has already depreciated quite a bit. Lifetime supercharging can be a great deal for road trippers in particular as well. For the more recent Model Y launch series, the deal was a bit better and discounts aren't available yet, but there are plenty of customers who bought this car within the last 2 months and financed at 5.49% APR. Now Tesla is offering 1.99% APR to drive more sales, and these cars are readily available in inventory, or available today when custom ordered. So for those customers who wanted this car but waited up to 2 months' time, the savings can be substantial. On top of that, the further along Tesla is on building their cars, the better the quality gets. So really, it's always a better idea to wait. I've learned this the hard way a few times, and the pattern is always the same. Tesla's build quality gets better in time, and prices and incentives improve. If you can afford to do so, waiting almost always ends up the best idea. Of course, we are in a situation right now where these cars fully qualify for a $7,500 federal tax credit that may be on the chopping block, and their prices may increase due to tariffs. But it's always up in the air, and it feels like it always will end up coming down in the long term. However, when it comes to waiting, the huge caveat right now is the EV tax credit. This is currently available on Tesla Model 3 and Y purchases, along with certain Cybertrucks, and saves customers that qualify $7,500. Soon this tax credit could be going away entirely, so it is a big consideration. Yes, waiting is often smart with Tesla vehicles and their own deals, but this credit disappearing could have a big effect as well. Next up is full self-driving. What exactly is this, and do you need it? Well, first I'll say, in the past, I would tell almost everyone, you don't need this. But in the past year, this software has improved so much that for many people, the price tag, a full $8,000, is justified. On Tesla's website, their full self-driving supervised option says, your car will be able to drive itself almost anywhere with minimal driver intervention. The important thing here as well is that this is definitely supervised. Quote, currently enabled features require active driver supervision and do not make the vehicle autonomous. The activation and use of these features are dependent on development and regulatory approval, which may take longer in some jurisdictions. Tesla has plans to enable these cars to become robotaxis and drive unsupervised as soon as this year, but that of course remains to be seen. In its supervised form today though, in many areas this system is pretty incredible. For myself in Southern California, it does about 98% of my driving at this point, and it's doing it very well. This package also includes Auto Park and Smart Summon, which allows you to have the car come to you in a parking lot. What Tesla is a little less clear about though, is that their cars all include Basic Autopilot. Basic Autopilot uses the car's onboard cameras and that FSD computer to support a range of safety and convenience features: automatic emergency braking, forward and side collision warnings, obstacle-aware acceleration, blind spot monitoring, lane departure avoidance, and emergency lane return. On top of that, you get traffic-aware cruise control and auto steer. Here's what that means in practice. Traffic-aware cruise control automatically adjusts your speed based on the flow of cars ahead, while auto steer helps keep the car centered in its lane on highways and well-marked roads up to 85 miles per hour. On long drives, especially on freeways, this combo can make a big difference in reducing fatigue. I use it often, and while it's not perfect, it's more than enough for most situations. For daily commutes or road trips, Basic Autopilot covers a lot more than people expect. You just will have to take over as soon as you want to change lanes or do any turns. It's important to note this though, since for some, this may be more than enough and it automatically comes with the car, no extra charge. If you want more though, that's where full self-driving supervised comes in at an $8,000 upgrade. If you're curious about this package but unsure, Tesla also offers a monthly FSD subscription for $99. You can upgrade directly through the Tesla app, and activation takes just minutes or less. For those doing the math, the one-time $8,000 purchase becomes the better deal after around 80 months, about 6.6 years of subscribing. But since Tesla's pricing changes often, it's worth reassessing before making a decision. And with 0% APR currently available on the Model 3, now may be one of the better times to consider your options. Another way to try this though is through Tesla's referral program. When you buy a Tesla, Tesla automatically gives you a referral link to share with anybody you know. When you share that link and somebody proceeds to purchase a car, you'll get $250 of Tesla credits towards anything like a future car purchase, software upgrades, charging, etc. This caps at 10 referrals per calendar year for the referrer and is something that changes often. For instance, credits up to $1,000 were available last year. However, for those buying a Tesla and using this link, you'll receive a benefit as well. It's always worth tracking down a referral link before buying a Tesla, whoever's it may be, because there's always some benefit, and right now the benefit is 3 free months of FSD. So if you're about to buy a Tesla, definitely use a referral link because this will automatically come with your car. This gives you 3 months to try out the full FSD system and decide if it's worth it for you to subscribe or purchase outright later on. At other times in the year as well, this will change, and it's possible that by the time you're watching this video, the referral link actually gets you a discount on your car. Discounts up to $2,000 were available through referral links last year. So all of this to say, always use a referral link. Now, a couple more points on buying. One thing that has become abundantly clear over the years is that the end of a quarter is typically the best time to buy a Tesla. This is when Tesla is really pushing to sell as many cars as possible, so their quarterly numbers look good to investors. This means the months of March, June, September, and December each year. At this point, Tesla almost always has some sort of extra deal going on, rewarding customers for taking quick delivery at the end of a quarter. If you are patient, timing this right could pay off with discounts, APR incentives, free charging, and more. But then comes Tesla Leasing. For many customers, they will be looking at leasing, and this is something Tesla has changed within the last year. Previously, there was no option to buy out a Tesla lease, but this is now fully in place. For the new Model Y, for example, it's available as a 36-month lease at $499 per month. Open up the terms and savings page, and you'll see, quote, option to purchase for $33,251, plus applicable taxes and fees, and purchase fee of up to $350, subject to the terms in lease agreement. That's the lease buyout amount, so you know ahead of time. The Model 3 has some pretty competitive lease options at the moment, starting at $349 per month with $0 down for 24 months. For 36, it's $399 per month, and for that configuration, the buyout is $26,767. You can always see the buyout number ahead of time in that terms page for their leases, but always be sure to include estimated taxes and fees, which we'll detail more later. For most people considering an EV, one of the top concerns here is range. Nobody wants to deal with range anxiety or worry about being stranded without a charge. Running low on gas is one thing, because you can usually find a station within a few miles. But if you're new to EVs, the idea of running out of battery feels much more uncertain. So how reliable is Tesla's range estimate? Can the Model Y really hit 327 miles on a full charge? The honest answer, not always, but these days, EPA estimates for Teslas have actually gotten pretty good. The EPA rates the Model Y long-range all-wheel drive at 327 miles of range, and while real-world results will vary, recent Teslas have started performing closer to or even better than those official numbers. For example, some trims of the new Model 3 have exceeded their EPA range in real-world testing, which is a notable shift from earlier years when Tesla's numbers were often a bit optimistic. Predicting EV range isn't easy. It depends on driving habits, speed, terrain, weather, HVAC usage, and even wheel choices. That's why 70-mile-per-hour range tests have become a popular way to gauge real-world performance. This speed reflects typical freeway driving, giving a more practical picture of how far these cars can really go on a charge. Fairly recently, out-of-spec reviews took the new all-wheel drive Model 3, rated at 341 miles, and got 370 miles out of it. That's a big shift and shows Tesla's EPA numbers are now much more grounded. For the refreshed Model Y, out-of-spec was able to drive 298 miles on a single charge while experiencing 20 to 30 mile-per-hour winds. That car is rated for 327 miles, so it underperformed. But again, that answer is not always. In other tests, I'm sure this car could exceed 327 miles, but you have to be aware of how things can change in the real world. For example, if you regularly drive over 300 miles without wanting to stop, you'll probably need a quick Supercharger visit. And Tesla says you can regain up to 169 miles in 15 minutes on this particular Model Y. Tesla also generally recommends keeping your daily charge to around 80% to preserve battery health, which means that your usable daily range is lower than the full EPA rating, closer to about 261 miles on a 327-mile Model Y. If you're focused on maximizing range, though, know that wheel upgrades can actually make a noticeable difference. For instance, the Model Y with standard wheels gets that 327-mile range, but adding the Helix 2.0 wheels drops that to 303 miles, a 24-mile range hit. The long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 goes from 363 miles down to 343 with the upgraded wheels. Some buyers love the sportier look and are fine trading off a bit of range, but others prefer sticking with the base wheels, especially now that Tesla has switched them to a sleek black finish. They're also new for these refreshed cars. The other thing to keep in mind with wheels is ride quality. In both the refreshed Model 3 and Y, ride quality is much improved, and absolutely on a luxury level. But still, every bit helps, and the larger tires on the base wheels gets the best ride. Larger wheels look cool, but end up with a little bit of a harsher ride. Again, some won't notice or care, but for ultimate range and ride quality, the base wheels might be your best option, and they'll save you some money. This is another one I learned the hard way with the original Model Y. That initial run of Model Ys had a particularly harsh ride, and the upgraded 20-inch wheels I got exacerbated that. So for the most part, I tend to get the stock wheels these days. But how much range do you really need? For most people, charging to 80% daily and having a solid 250 to 270 miles available is more than enough. If you charge at home, even lower range models will cover the bulk of your driving without stress. In fact, older base Model 3s had 272 miles of range and used lithium iron phosphate (LFP) batteries, which are actually designed to be charged to 100% daily with no degradation concerns, giving you full access to that range. That's something to keep in mind if you're considering used Teslas, or if Tesla brings back smaller battery options in the US. That is rumored to be something they plan to come out with in the next few months, but we'll see if they're LFP or not. In short, real-world range is improving, EPA ratings are more realistic, and as long as you understand how range works in practice in the real world, most Tesla models offer plenty for day-to-day driving. Now, on the technical side of things, one big thing that is often different for customers switching to a Tesla is the lack of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. In favor of their own built-in system, Tesla does not support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. For some customers, this will be frustrating if they are used to certain apps being on their main vehicle screen, or if they have a preferred mapping software. But interestingly enough, this is actually becoming more common practice in the industry. GM has begun developing their own system and moving away from these phone integrations, and companies like Rivian have done the same as Tesla. To argue for Tesla's approach here, their cars have some of, if not the best vehicle software out there. Everything is snappy, incredibly quick, and works well. So for some people, hearing built-in system may sound like a dated legacy system made for older cars with terrible refresh rates. But Tesla's software is in line with modern tablets and smartphones. It also has built-in support for Bluetooth, of course, as well as Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Live One, Spotify, Tidal, TuneIn, and YouTube Music. The one caveat is that to use these, you need connectivity, so you could either tether to your phone or use Tesla's premium connectivity package, which costs $9.99 a month or $99 per year. Overall, these apps work great, and I actually prefer them over having everything tied to my phone, but there will be certain apps that people still wish they had, and that is just a part of a Tesla at this point. I personally find the combo of a phone mount and a screen for built-in things like maps is a great option. But now let's talk about charging cost. If you're thinking about installing a charger at home for your Tesla, you're probably wondering, how much does it really cost to charge an EV? Well, the simple answer, less than gas, is true, but the full picture depends on a few variables. Let's break it down. The cost to charge at home mainly depends on your local electricity rates. Many utility companies offer EV-friendly time-of-use (TOU) plans, which give you cheaper rates at night. Take California, for example, one of the pricier states for electricity. On my TOU plan, I pay around 24 cents per kilowatt hour during off-peak winter hours. Charging a Tesla Model Y, which has about a 75 kilowatt hour usable battery, would cost roughly $18 to go from 0 to 100%. That would get you around 298 miles of real-world driving, according to those tests we talked about. In states with lower electricity prices, it's even cheaper, and most likely a number of people will comment on this post, blown away by the fact that electricity for me is 5 times what they pay. In any case, plenty of Tesla owners across the US can charge their cars at home for under $10 per fill-up, making home charging one of the most cost-effective benefits of EV ownership. Almost 300 miles for less than $10 is just incredible. Now, to put it into perspective, let's compare it to a gas-powered SUV. A Toyota RAV4 averages about 30 miles per gallon combined, according to the EPA. Driving 327 miles, close to a Model Y's full listed EPA range, would take around 10.9 gallons of gas for the RAV4. Note that I'm using the full EPA range of the Model Y since I'm also using the full EPA fuel economy listed for the RAV4. At $4.75 per gallon, a typical price where I live, that adds up to $51.77. So the Tesla is $18 and the RAV4 is $51.77. That's a $33+ difference for the same distance, and that's just one fill-up. If we do the same math for a RAV4 hybrid, we get a combined mileage of about 39 miles per gallon. In turn, that would cost around $39.82 to drive 327 miles, meaning a Model Y saves about $20 per fill-up. No matter how efficient the gas car is, it just can't get close to the 120 miles per gallon equivalent of the Model Y. Another thing that's important to point out here as well is that this is a comparison using my Los Angeles gas prices and Los Angeles energy prices. In somewhere like Minnesota, gas has an average cost of $2.95, with off-peak energy as low as 7 cents per kilowatt hour. For that comparison, you're looking at a $32 fill-up of gasoline for the RAV4 to drive 327 miles, or $5.25 to charge the Model Y and drive the same distance. So almost a $27 savings per charge. This particular calculation could be very useful for you, since some areas will have significantly more or less savings here. Now that's for home charging. It's a little different when seeking out public charging. In some areas, free or cheap public chargers are available, and that could actually lead to even more savings than home charging, but many will use Tesla superchargers day to day or on road trips. Overall, supercharging costs a bit more than home charging, but it's still cheaper than gas. Rates vary by location and time of day, much like gas prices. In my area, superchargers range from 28 cents per kilowatt hour off peak to 60 cents per kilowatt hour on peak. For a full charge, that's roughly $21 to $45, still well below the cost of filling up a tank with gasoline. So when calculating your savings, this is an important factor to keep in mind. What kind of charging are you doing? Now, another important cost to factor in when owning a Tesla is insurance. While EVs tend to be cheaper to maintain than gas cars, there's no oil changes, there are fewer moving parts, and more, insurance premiums can be higher. Rates depend on the usual suspects: your age, location, driving record, and which company you use. Tesla even offers its own insurance in select states, and in many cases it's one of the most competitive options. According to Forbes, the average annual premium for a 30-year-old Tesla Model Y owner is about $2,648, or roughly $221 per month, but that varies. For example, Nationwide offers some of the lowest rates at $1,602 per year, about $134 per month, while other providers can charge quite a bit more depending on your zip code and coverage level. Tesla's in-house insurance, currently available in these 12 states, averages around $187 per month according to Value Penguin. In all states except California as well, Tesla uses real-time driving behavior to adjust rates, offering premiums that they say are based on your driving safety score. This usage-based model can reward careful drivers with significant savings. Of course, the only way to know what you'll actually pay is to get a quote, so it's worth comparing traditional insurers with Tesla's own offerings if it's available in your state. Now, one cost that often catches new Tesla buyers off guard is vehicle registration. While registering a Tesla follows the same basic steps as any car, electric vehicles can come with added fees depending on your state. These fees vary widely and are worth factoring into your overall cost of ownership. In many states, EVs face higher registration fees than gas cars. That's because EV drivers don't pay gasoline taxes, which are traditionally used to fund road upkeep. To make up for that, some states charge extra annual fees for electric vehicles. States like Georgia, Illinois, and Michigan tack on anywhere from $100 to $200 per year in EV-specific fees on top of standard registration. In California, where Teslas are especially common, the system is a bit different. Registration costs are based on the vehicle's value, which means higher fees for more expensive cars. For a Model Y priced around $47,000, you'd pay a $60 registration fee, $28 CHP fee, $305 vehicle license fee, and more, bringing the total to $400+ for the first year. After that, California adds a $100 EV fee annually, starting in year 2. On the flip side, some states actually offer incentives or reduced fees to encourage EV adoption. For example, Washington State has lower base registration for EVs, but still charges a separate EV infrastructure fee to help fund road maintenance. Federally, a new $250 fee may be added soon as well. The easiest way to check on this, though, is to use Tesla's own calculator. Now, I do have some qualms with this online calculator, mainly because they do sometimes use some trickery to show a low monthly payment. However, if you use it right, it can get you a really good estimate. On the configuration page for a Tesla, click on Edit Terms and Savings, or simply Edit Savings if looking at cash purchases. When you open this, you'll see the price of your configured car, but it notably says after estimated savings. If you qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit, of which you can view criteria on this page, then go ahead and include that, but you can uncheck that if you don't. Then right here is a button to Include Estimated Taxes and Fees. This takes your exact zip code into account and will be very accurate. As you can see, this adds thousands to your price and quite a lot to your monthly payment, so it's very helpful to get a true realistic picture of all of the fees you'll be facing. This way you aren't caught off guard at all. This page can also be a great place to calculate your monthly gas savings, since customizing that will allow you to dial in your gas car's efficiency, cost per gallon, cost per kilowatt hour of electricity where you plan to charge, and annual mileage. It gives a pretty accurate look at those savings, although in practice, simply subtracting $100 from your monthly payment isn't really how it works. It illustrates the idea, though. You can also check your state's DMV website directly for accurate registration fee numbers. In the end, even though EV registration can cost more upfront in some places, the fuel and maintenance savings over time typically make up for it for most owners. Just make sure you include registration in your budget planning. Now, a question nearly every person thinking about an EV asks is, how long does it take to charge? The truth is, it's not as much about time as it is about routine. Charging an EV isn't like stopping for gas. It's a different experience altogether. Most Tesla drivers rarely think about it because charging happens while they're parked or while they're sleeping, not while they're waiting. Let's break down the 3 main charging levels so you know what to expect. First are level 3 DC fast chargers, which in Tesla's case are their superchargers. This is the fastest option and what you'll use on road trips. Tesla's supercharger network can add up to 200 miles in about 15 minutes depending on conditions. Real-world results vary based on factors like your battery's current charge level and temperature. For example, a test by Inside EVs showed a Model 3 at a V3 supercharger hit 10% in 4 minutes, 50% in 16 minutes, and then 80% in 32 minutes. After 80%, charging slows significantly to protect battery longevity, so most drivers stop at around 80%, drive to the next supercharger, and repeat when doing road trips. Tesla's navigation system plans these stops for you automatically, and it's incredibly seamless. On a road trip, that usually means plugging in, grabbing a snack or coffee, and being ready to go again without too much downtime. For myself, I just think out my stops a touch more, ensuring I time food and bathroom breaks with a charge whenever possible. Next is Level 2 240-volt home and public charging. Level 2 is the go-to setup for daily driving. It uses a 240-volt outlet, either via a wall connector or a mobile connector, and adds about 30 to 44 miles of range per hour, depending on your setup. Charging from 0 to 100% on a Model Y would take roughly 7.5 to 11 hours, but most people just top off overnight. For example, going from 40 back up to 80%. This is where EV ownership really clicks. You plug it in at night, and by the morning, your Tesla is full and ready to go. Tesla's app lets you schedule charging during off-peak hours, saving money and easing the grid. Then, public Level 2 chargers, found at offices, malls, and more, offer similar speeds, making them handy for topping off during errands or work. Once you're used to it, charging becomes a habit, not a chore. And personally, I plug it at night, spend 10 seconds doing it, and never worry about range during the day. Last up is Level 1, which is a standard 120-volt outlet. This is definitely the slowest option, but still can be useful. Level 1 uses a basic household outlet and adds about 3 miles of range per hour, which of course is not ideal for regular use, but fine if you're only driving a few miles a day or staying somewhere temporarily. A full charge on a Model Y here would take 100 plus hours, but for light use or emergencies, it does get the job done. Lastly, for charging, if you're setting up charging at home, here are your main options from budget-friendly to full-featured, and I've actually tried most of these over the years. First, you have a standard 120-volt outlet plus the mobile connector. This is the cheapest option with no installation needed, and it's good for very light driving. Next is a NEMA 1450 plug plus a mobile connector. If you already have a 240-volt outlet, which is often used for dryers or RVs, this setup can give you up to 30 miles of range per hour. It's cost-effective and works well for most drivers. To make these first two types of chargers work, Tesla's mobile connector is $300. Next is a dryer outlet splitter. This lets you safely share your dryer's 240-volt outlet with your Tesla without needing a new circuit. Then, if none of these are options, you can install a dedicated NEMA 1450 plug. If you don't already have one, an electrician can install it. It's cheaper than a full charger install and provides reliable charging speeds, which are plenty for most people. Then there's the Tesla wall connector or a similar Level 2 home charger. This is more of the premium setup. For around $420, you get up to 44 miles per hour of charging. Installation costs vary depending on your home's layout and electrical panel, and homes may need an upgrade to support it, which does add to the price, so it's important to research. I personally use the wall connector because it's fast, seamless, and great for daily use, but if I had a NEMA 1450 outlet already, that would have worked just fine as well. Either way, once it's set up, home charging becomes one of the most convenient parts of owning a Tesla. It's a plug-it-and-forget-it system that just makes gas stations feel like a thing of the past. So those are a few of the top questions I get from new Tesla owners, and a lot of the things I had to learn when I first got my car. Some were learned the hard way, so I hope I've saved you some of that trouble with this video. There's always a lot to discover once your car arrives, so I've also put together a video that walks through what to do after delivery, plus another one that covers the best accessories to get the most out of your Tesla. Those are both linked above or in the description below, and in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.